Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about and assign an arbitrary, some would say pointless score to. Today we're going to talk about the phenomenon that is the Charli XCX new album, BRAT. So if you've been anywhere near the internet over the past couple of months, you will have seen at least in part some of the bratification of social media. The bright lime green album cover, basic, almost glitchy font, phrases like "I'm so Julia" or "brat coded," hard house, trance sounding clips, talks about strappy tops and cigs. It really feels like after being just your cool mate's favourite artist for the last 5 years, Charli has birthed a genuine cultural phenomenon, and we're all just living in her summer. Similarly, if you've been anywhere near your favourite music commentators or publications, you have probably heard BRAT referenced as a perfect 10, a 10 out of 10 record, album of the year quite possibly. I'm not quite riding that gravy train yet, but this is an undeniably fun, charming and exhilarating release that's far and away my favourite thing I've heard from the UK singer-songwriter to date. For those not up to speed with their Charli lore, BRAT is the artist's sixth official release, and she has had an interesting road to get here, initially putting out what she calls terrible MySpace music around 2008. She got signed and kind of seemed to rapidly pivot over the first 5 years of her career between trying to be a play-by-the-rules pop star, see massive hits like Boom Clap and Fancy, but then also trying to be kind of subversive and edgy. But in 2015, she began teaming up with cutting-edge artists like A.G. Cook, Sophie and Blood Pop, and this was when she kind of settled on that true calling. In these collaborators, Charli found producers that shared her same split personality of wanting massive pop hooks while also wanting to be abrasive and weird. The resulting Vroom Vroom EP would be one of the earliest examples of the hyperpop genre, a style that checks exactly all of those boxes. It's bubblegum pop hooks combined with in-your-face, verging on noise-level electronic instrumentation. Over the decades since, Charli's ultimate quest to create something equal parts mainstream and subversive has seen her move maybe a little more to the centre from the groundbreaking sound of Vroom Vroom. The hyperpop, loud, direct, unapologetic aesthetic has definitely remained a core tenet of her sound, though even 2022's Crash, an album that lent more into like big 80s hooks and tones, still couldn't resist utilising those huge distorted metallic synth sounds. And arguably Crash maybe was a little too on the safe pop side of that seesaw the artist has been attempting to balance. But here on BRAT, she's done it, and this is why I think it's getting as much love from the fan base as it is more mainstream and critical praise. This album has managed to hit that combo of huge megastar pop hooks while retaining a strong, subversive, edgy, challenging, even abrasive instrumental texture, and it's just pure pop infiltration. Next to the music, which I will get into, the thing I'm most interested around the whole BRAT phenomenon is just who this record is resonating with. From the outside, the Charli XCX aesthetic has long dabbled with, but on BRAT dived headfirst into this whole kind of Y2K cyber chic, trashy but cool aesthetic that 30 plus millennials like me firmly associate with this mysterious younger Gen Z audience. But what I seem to observe online, midnight doom scrolling through Reddit, TikTok and Instagram comments, an absolutely pivotal part of my unimpeachable approach to maintaining my mental health. What I notice through that is the fan base feels actually much older than what we all kind of think it is. As a result, I'm left wondering whether, if in part Charli XCX's allure for fans is feeling like they're cutting edge, like they're ahead of the curve and peeking through a window into what a younger audience is loving, but paradoxically that audience is actually them. These are very broad brush generalizations. Obviously, Charli has 20 million Spotify monthly listeners alone. So I'm not for a minute saying she doesn't have younger Gen Z, Gen Alpha fans in the mix too. I just get the vibe that the core fan base is probably older on average than the fan base themselves might know, and I find that kind of interesting. And I think this makes a lot of sense when you listen specifically to the actual music on BRAT too. If you're someone that is of an age where you were conscious of music in 2003 to 2006 era of, you know, pop bangers starting with, I don't know, like Eric Prydz and culminating with Kesha and her TikTok song, there's no way you can listen to a track like Von Dutch, clues in the title, Rewind or Mean Girls and not pick up those musical reference points. It's all a very smart pastiche of that super trashy club banger era where you'd get a track from some clown called DJ Poppin' Fresh featuring Joe Shit the Rag Band, or DJ Crack Sniffer featuring Blimfield, you know, someone that you'd never heard of or would likely ever hear again, who'd somehow make it to number one with a relentlessly catchy, trancey house banger with probably a video of women in bikinis. So as I've been listening to BRAT, and at the same time observing the fanatical love for it, the audience demographics who are responding to it, and picking up the album's musical reference points, it's led me into a bit of a deeper tangent about the kind of concept of high and low culture. When I think back to the era I just mentioned of those like anonymous DJ-led chart toppers, this was also the era that like reality TV started ramping up. And at the time, I feel like almost no one would publicly admit to liking either of those things, those hits or the TV, despite both being number one in their field. And if you did admit to it, there was a feeling of needing to justify it. Flash forward to 2024, and I feel like people on the whole have a bit more of maybe a nuanced understanding of these high-low aspects of culture. I've noticed way more music fans, people who are proper into it, being far more unapologetic about the accessible pop music that they like, just as more and more people are kind of upfront about reality TV being entertaining and it's just not that deep, you know. People just seem to be more open about enjoying entertainment and embracing entertainment that is purposefully fun and not designed to be some sort of intellectually nourishing piece of art. And none of that is to diminish the artistic merit of BRAT, because as an album, one of the reasons I love the record, in fact, are all those, you know, the super sophisticated melodic and production layers that are under the surface of the huge hooks. I just wonder if the universal acclaim from the mass culture and the highbrow chin stroking types is because of where we've arrived at as a culture, in that we are now kind of seeing the artistic merit in entertainment that's being designed to give you that trashy dopamine hit. So let's talk about the music then, after all this pontificating, because who really cares about all that shit? The hooks on BRAT are so solid and so omnipresent. Every song is just packed with flashy, trashy and bratty hooks, from the instrumentals to the vocals. It's never ending. I have definitely found myself randomly singing I'm So Julia, or bumping that like all the time. And that's the ear candy. That's the dopamine rush. But what I'm absolutely loving are all the like sophisticated elements under the hood in the background, while your conscious brain is preoccupied with club classics. You know, I'm talking about stuff like the classical piano in Mean Girls. This comes in about halfway through and replaces the heavy bass pulses that we've been introduced to at the start of the track. There's almost no reason for this. This song could be a perfectly serviceable banger if it had just gone the traditional route and continued to build like a standard club hit. But instead, while you're busy singing along to yet another amazing vocal hook, the combo of A.G. Cook and Hudson Mohawk on the production just pull the rug and drop in this flashy classical piano to completely replace all of the musical elements we've heard up until now. It's just so cool, and all of that is kind of juxtaposed against the core pulsing chord progression that recalls, I don't know, like David Guetta or something. There are countless examples of that nuanced production over the record, so I'll pivot and I'll switch to the other element that I think is crucial to making this record a success, and that is Charli herself, her personality. Lyrically, Charli, our protagonist, just as she has with the musical direction, has pulled off another perfect balancing act. Naturally, by virtue of being the charismatic pop star she is, with her party girl persona, there is a fantasy element for the audience. People aspire to be as fun, as free-spirited and spontaneous as Charli comes across on the record, but she delivers all of this in such a down-to-earth way. The way she talks, the language used, you feel like you're included in the party, and that gives it this relatability. And for those that follow her more closely, she'll make references to her fiance George Daniel, or her frequent collaborator A.G. Cook, or dearly departed friend Sophie, and all of them on this kind of first name basis, like you're included in this circle of friends. And as an extension to that, there's also this very stark vulnerability, an ode to Sophie on So I, talking about media creating female rivalry on Girls So Confusing, and about when or not to have children on I Think About It All the Time. Then to put a bow on the whole thing and to live up to the name Brat, there's a perfect amount of tongue-in-cheek arrogance to club classics, Von Dutch or 365. And those ones are actually my favourite. Von Dutch, Mean Girls, 365 in particular, they are stone cold bangers. The bump in that hook and the unashamed, should we have a little key, should we do a little line, like on the latter is just, it's taboo busting pop perfection, and I love it. I have to say, Apple is probably the song I haven't really gotten on with, and is for me maybe the weak spot on the whole album. And I recently said in my QBR video that I think the Billie Eilish record has the edge on Brat for me, but it's only slight. And the reason that I say that is that I think the overall tone and sound of this album is so ingrained in that 2000s club classics pastiche, it may have a bit of a shelf life. Overall though, this is a genuinely great album. Believe the hype. I'm going to give it a 9.3 out of 10 and knock it on the head. And that's just what I think though. What are you lot saying? Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about this latest one? Is it overhyped? Are you not buying it? Don't know. Let me know. Check out the description for related reviews in the description. And if you can be asked to do all of that, fucking subscribe. Stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just howl some abuse at me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers mate, take care. There you go. Bye.